taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. And on the basis that evasion is a legal issue, avoidance is a moral issue, do you take your...
Well, I think it's interesting in terms of is avoidance. There's a whole spectrum of avoidance. There is another view that tax is just a cost like buying goods and services. That one of your jobs to maximise value is to reduce cost. Mm-hmm. And so if you look at it in that light, that reducing and making your tax affairs in the most efficient way is no different than reorganising your supply base, putting certain things out to tender and minimising your costs that way.
But you can just see the PR damage that sometimes tax avoidance can cause.
A comedian friend.
Also some big companies as well. I mean, so you weigh up the costs and the benefits. Again, if you're doing something risky from a tax point of view, it could really come along and bite you later and ruin your reputation.
So would you, because you're not you're not in ownership of the company and you're not that legal bind with them, other than the shadow responsibility, would you take your lead on a moral issue from the owner of the company? Or do you make your own judgments on that always?
We tend to work with partners with all companies. The companies will have their own professional advisors, and then there'll probably be, if it's a big enough company, a tax partner. So for tax planning issues, we'll have a point of view, but invariably we'll pass them over to the accounting firm, who will give them chapter and verse on what they should actually be doing.
Right.
So if I said I was going to play a Beatles track after that conversation, it would really only be one track that it could be, wouldn't there?
But David, Neil, we launched straight into the business, as it were, and my interest is always in the people behind the business, what drives them and so on. You've obviously got a lot of experience. What is your experience, just generally? What's your background?
Well, I've actually got a bit too many years of blue chip corporate experience up until about the last 5 years ago, Mike. I had nearly 13 years with Procter & Gamble. Doing a whole range of things and finishing up as being European Finance Director. Right. And then I was Group Finance Director of a major multinational in the fruit industry. And that training was fantastic, and it really taught you in terms of what it takes to be successful and how to manage within a larger company. Some of the things it also taught you, which maybe you're not quite so proud of, but you actually needed it to be successful, is the whole politics of how to make progress up the so-called greasy pole. And at the end of the day, one of the things which I got tired of was people in the larger company, shall we say, being more committed to looking good than producing results. And when you then step back from that, one of the things which is brilliant about the work that we and our associate directors in FD4 do is that there are no safety nets in place. You're as good as you say you are, and you're out there in the front line, and also you're getting the intellectual challenge, the intellectual rigour, and the opportunity to really see how you make a difference. And that's what we really enjoy now.
And is that what you could foresee when you made the decision to leave the large corporate box, as I call it, sitting in a corporate box quite comfortably? You didn't foresee that challenges?
I'll tell you, one of the things that, David and I, we're both Procter & Gamble background.
Oh, right,
and in fact, funny enough, we actually came together in another company as well. Right. And the way which we describe it is we thought we were fully rounded businessmen in P&G. But until you've stepped outside into the real world, and we now carry, as we call it, we've got the scars on our back, we've got the real world, we've found out what it's like not to have the big corporate safety nets in place. And at the same time, it's like all things, that if you want to get maximum rewards, you've got to be able to take a little bit of a risk. And that risk-reward is what we've found in abundance in this new career that we've both now followed over the last few years.
So I know that you were Procter & Gamble, and David.
I think a good thing about blue chip is you kind of get a feel for what you know what good looks like. Right. You know how things can be and should be, which is really good training to have. But like Neil says, you then step into smaller companies, and you've got to learn to maybe try and achieve that with less resources, which can be a challenge. But that's what we've learned since in the last probably 15 years or so, maybe more. I then spent some time in the SME market as like a board member. Probably the medium as opposed to small. Last company I was at a corporate role, and I was the CFO of a 100 million turnover group. To be honest, like when I came out of that job, I was between jobs, and I started working with some friends whilst I looked for another job. And I just really enjoyed working with the friends. I found it like very emotionally rewarding to help them. At the start, I was doing it it was just for fun, actually. But then when the third person asked me to help them, I thought, well, I'm quite enjoying this, and okay, I'll do it. And then it did take me about probably 6 months to really get it going. But I found it just has grown and grown since then.
Yeah. And you're really enjoying it. By the sound of it, both of you are very enthusiastic about what you do now.
It's very rewarding, actually.
Yeah.
To really help people. You know, it's really rewarding.
And I'm having had a large corporate SmithKline Beecham before it was GlaxoSmithKline, but a large corporate background. Do you feel that you can make more of a difference when you're working with the smaller companies? You can actually make some changes that you can see develop. You haven't got that behemoth, that big oil tanker moving.
There's not a shadow of doubt.
Yeah.
You can see the difference you make almost day in, day out. Whereas as I come back, and you'll have seen the same at SmithKline, in that, unfortunately, you have to learn to manage the politics in those larger companies to make something happen. Sometimes it can be walking through treacle. Whereas, as David said, you work with the smaller company. If you decide a course of action, then it can actually be enacted the next day, if not that afternoon.
Yeah, it's a speedboat versus a tanker, and we get a chance to talk to the driver.
Yeah, and of course with all those analogies, the little tugs that tug those huge boats around around the harbours. Yeah, and I would imagine that it's refreshing and therefore very valuable to step out of it, because you step out of it for a few days or weeks. You get a different perspective than when you're actually in it and involved in it and get lost in those politics.
You do, and I think it comes down to that. When we're looking for people to join us in FD4, there's we almost take the technical sides for granted, because again, to have had the experience, we don't need to worry about people understanding some of the technicalities. We're actually looking for the character traits. We're looking for the leadership qualities. We're looking for the ability to get on with people. We're looking for people that actually still want to make a difference. And it's not without good reason. It's not just a cliche when we say that FD4 is passionate about adding value to companies' businesses. We absolutely are. And there's nothing that pleases David and myself more. When we do briefing at the end of the day, end of the week, if we tell each other about the successes we've had and the fact that we've made some more money, or we've come up with a new way of doing something for a client, it's just absolutely brilliant.
And the people that work for you have got to share that.
Absolutely.
Otherwise they're not going to fit. And I know my recruitment colleagues talk about, can they do the job? That's one thing. Will they do the job? Yeah, that's it. But will they fit is the most crucial question.
Absolutely.
It really is. And I would just like to say that, we've actually rejected more people to join us than have joined us so far. That we are a little bit picky.
I could think of rejects more fish than it, whatever.
Cool, love it. Well, I don't know about you, but I've had a good time on the programme. I hope the two of you have, and I hope Mike has as well. But the time is rapidly approaching when we need to say goodbye. So let me do a formal thank you to David and Neil from FD4.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a wild guess that says you do have a website.
We do. It's obviously the 3 W's, and it's FD4, but it's numeric 4.co.uk. And you just pop on there and you'll see even more things about us.
And what I do know, because I've tried it, is if you just put FD4 into the search engine of your choosing, it comes out top, which is really nice place for you to be. Maybe we should go back to our SEO conversation many moons ago. Okay, 2 weeks' time. BizBuzz, of course, is on every weekday. 2 weeks' time, Mike and I will be back, and we will be back with Leo from RSM Tenon. I've been Leo Sykes from RSM Tenon, and I nearly said Leo Sayer, and I knew that was wrong. Leo Sykes from RSM Tenon. Hope you're listening, Leo. And RSM Tenon are based well over 300 yards from the studio, so boy, are they a local business. And we're going to be looking at what some things that can go wrong with your business and how a company like them, because they do have competitors and there are comparable businesses out there, how a company like them can help your business. So please do listen into that one. But first, given the nature of the programme, there's one song we haven't played that I'm sorry I'm going to give in, and we just have to play ABBA, really. Hope to see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye.